welcome to A Course in Miracles in Practice. We're so pleased you're here to delve into the practical application of the Course.
Think of this as a guided journey, a step-by-step exploration of one of the most powerful spiritual texts out there. We've just finished Review 3, spent some good time on listener questions over the last 10 days or so.
And now we're ready to jump into something really central from the Course.
Lesson 121.
We want to explore not just the lesson itself, but how it bumps up against, well, a lot of what the world tells us. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. 1. Here is the answer to your search for peace.
Here is the key to meaning in a world which seems to make no sense.
Here's the way to safety in apparent dangers, which appear to threaten you at every turn and bring uncertainty to all your hopes of ever finding quietness and peace.
Here are all questions answered.
Here, the end of all uncertainty ensured at last.
2. The unforgiving mind is full of fear and offers love no room to be itself, no place where it can spread its wings in peace and soar above the turmoil of the world.
The unforgiving mind is sad, without the hope of respite and release from pain.
It suffers and abides in misery, peering about in darkness, seeing not, yet certain of the danger lurking there.
3. The unforgiving mind is torn with doubt, confused about itself and all it sees, afraid and angry, weak and blustering, afraid to go ahead, afraid to stay, afraid to waken or to go to sleep, afraid of every sound, yet more afraid of stillness, terrified of darkness, yet more terrified at the approach of light.
What can the unforgiving mind perceive but its damnation?
What can it behold except the proof that all its sins are real?
The unforgiving mind sees no mistakes, but only sins.
It looks upon the world with sightless eyes and shrieks as it beholds its own projections rising to attack its miserable parody of life.
It wants to live, yet wishes it were dead.
It wants forgiveness, yet it sees no hope.
It wants escape, yet can conceive of none, because it sees the sinful everywhere.
5. The unforgiving mind is in despair, without the prospect of a future which can offer anything but more despair.
Yet it regards its judgment of the world as irreversible, and does not see it has condemned itself to this despair.
It thinks it cannot change, for what it sees bears witness that its judgment is correct.
It does not ask, because it thinks it knows.
It does not question, certain it is right.
6. Forgiveness is acquired.
It is not inherent in a mind which cannot sin.
As sin was an idea you taught yourself, forgiveness must be learned by you as well, but from a teacher other than yourself, who represents the other self in you.
Through him, you learn how to forgive the self you think you made and let it disappear.
Thus, you return your mind as one to him who is yourself, and who can never sin.
7. Each unforgiving mind presents you with an opportunity to teach your own how to forgive itself.
Each one awaits release from hell through you, and turns to you imploringly for heaven here and now.
It has no hope, but you become its hope.
And as its hope, do you become your own.
The unforgiving mind must learn through your forgiveness that it has been saved from hell.
And as you teach salvation, you will learn.
Yet all your teaching and your learning will be not of you, but of the teacher who is giving you to show the way to you.
Today, we practice learning to forgive.
If you are willing, you can learn today to take the key to happiness and use it on your own behalf.
We will devote 10 minutes in the morning and at night another 10 to learning how to give forgiveness and receive forgiveness too.
9. The unforgiving mind does not believe that giving and receiving are the same.
Yet we will try to learn today that they are one through practicing forgiveness toward one whom you think of as an enemy and one whom you consider as a friend.
And as you learn to see them both as one, we will extend the lesson to yourself and see that their escape included yours.
Okay, wow. Hearing it read like that, it really lands.
It does.
The ego often paints forgiveness as making yourself vulnerable to being hurt again.
Yeah, that feels familiar.
And the basic operating system of the world often seems designed against forgiveness. We're often taught, culturally at least, that if someone does wrong, there needs to be punishment. Justice is often framed that way.
Right, like an eye for an eye kind of thing. And mistakes, they stick.
They really do. They can feel like these permanent marks on your record or someone else's. And holding on to those hurts, those grievances, it can almost feel necessary, like you're protecting yourself.
Yeah, like letting go would be naive or dangerous.
And that whole mindset, that way of seeing things through fear, judgment, seeing everyone as separate, that's what the Course points to as the unforgiving mind. It's kind of the default setting in this worldly view.
So it shapes how we react, how we feel about things almost automatically.
It certainly can. And then there's this other huge factor, how much value the world places on things outside of us.
You mean like needing approval or comparing ourselves?
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
That constant, sometimes subtle, sometimes not so subtle, striving for external validation. Social media, for instance.
Oh, yeah. Likes, followers, shares. It's all numbers. Quantifiable approval.
And it's easy for our sense of self-worth to get tangled up in those external metrics. It makes your inner peace feel dependent on something fickle, something outside your control. It's this constant hunt for approval.
Or even big life choices like careers. How often is that driven by what looks good, by prestige, rather than what someone genuinely loves doing?
That's a great example. Chasing an external definition of what success is, rather than an internal sense of purpose or joy.
And it extends to possessions too, doesn't it? The stuff we buy, the image we project.
Definitely. Status symbols, curated lifestyles, they often function as signals we send out, trying to shore up our place in some kind of perceived social hierarchy.
But all that seeking outside, it must create a kind of baseline insecurity inside.
That's the core of it, this underlying fear of not being good enough, of inadequacy. And that makes forgiveness incredibly difficult, because forgiveness requires letting go of judgment, releasing the grievance. But if your sense of value feels shaky, dependent on external things, any little slight or mistake, yours or someone else's, feels like a major threat.
So you get defensive, you hold on tighter.
You defend that fragile sense of self. And then there's competition. That's another huge piece of the worldly puzzle.
Right. It seems embedded everywhere, workplaces, even schools.
Absolutely. Vying for that promotion, climbing the ladder, getting the best grades. It often sets things up so that one person's gain feels like another person's loss. A zero-sum game.
Which doesn't exactly foster trust or collaboration, does it?
Not typically. In those really competitive settings, being open or collaborative can almost seem like a disadvantage. The main drive is just get ahead, beat the competition.
And that breeds a kind of scarcity thinking, like there isn't enough success or recognition to go around.
And with that comes suspicion, defensiveness. You're always sort of looking over your shoulder, assessing threats, protecting your turf.
So in that state of mind, forgiveness just seems illogical, maybe even weak.
It can feel completely counterintuitive. Why would you let go of a grievance against someone you see as an opponent, someone trying to take what's yours? It feels like dropping your guard.
Okay, so we have external validation, competition. What else? Material success seems tied in here too.
Oh, massively. The world heavily promotes the idea that wealth and possessions are the primary markers of a good life, of success.
You see it everywhere. Ads, media. The message is constant. More money, more stuff equals more happiness.
And the pursuit of that can easily overshadow other things like, actual well-being. People might burn themselves out, sacrifice relationships, health, all for those financial goals.
Yeah, the pressure to earn more, own more, and consumer culture just feeds that cycle, telling you your worth is tied to what you buy.
It creates this feeling of never enough, doesn't it? Which can lead to debt, anxiety, a whole host of problems. But fundamentally, it ties your identity to things.
And if your identity is tied to things, you become afraid of losing them.
Terribly afraid. Fear of loss becomes significant. Your possessions feel like extensions of yourself. So any perceived threat, any loss feels deeply personal. Again, it makes you defensive.
So letting go of a grievance, forgiving someone who you feel threatened your security or possessions, that becomes really tough.
The court suggests that forgiveness, true forgiveness, isn't really a natural response within that worldly thought system. It's not the ego's way.
So it's something else, something learned.
Yes, it frames it as a practice, a conscious choice, guided by something deeper within us, a sort of higher teacher or inner wisdom, the self, that sees beyond these worldly illusions. This higher self recognizes our shared reality, our inherent worth that isn't dependent on external factors. It sees past the separation the world emphasizes. The court says genuine forgiveness is actually an act of strength. It's how you dismantle the barrier you've put up to your own peace, your own experience of love.
So by practicing it, we start to see through the world's illusions, the conflict, the division.
That's the idea. It helps shift your focus away from needing approval, away from winning at all costs, away from piling up possessions, and towards something more real, more lasting within you. It reclaims your power from the external world.
It sounds like a path out of that cycle of fear and defensiveness we were talking about.
It's presented exactly that way, a way to find peace despite the world's pressures, not by changing the world necessarily, but by changing the mind that perceives it.
So thinking about all this really invites some reflection, doesn't it, for anyone listening?
It's worth considering, perhaps, how buying into some of these common worldly values, the need for approval, the competitive drive, the focus on stuff, might actually be getting in the way of your own inner calm.
Like maybe unknowingly creating obstacles to peace.
So that brings us to the end. Thank you, really, for being part of our community.
Yeah, this wouldn't be the same without you listening.
You can always email us. That's ACIM@theworldharmonyproject.org.
ACIM@theworldharmonyproject.org.